It seems today
that all you see
is violence in movies
and sex on TV.
But where are those good old-fashioned values
in which we used to rely? Did you know that Aunt May dies? Dude!
Spoiler!
Oh, come on.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Alright, so we got your letter. Thanks, Gran.
Right. But seriously, what are we watching these days?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a good
because let's be honest, if you're not exclusively on the kids section in Netflix, you're exposed to some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, man. But have you seen The Witcher?
I haven't seen it, but it looks so intense.
Dude.
Like, should Christians even be watching that?
That's a good question.
Let's talk about that.
So today we're actually talking about the movies and the series that we're watching. I mean, I think this is a really, really cool topic.
Yes.
Especially for a young Christian audience.
That is so true. Like, I don't know about you, but I've often wondered this myself, just, as a Jesus follower, what am I allowed to watch and what's kind of crossing the line? Because let's be honest, there are such cool movies and series and like just entertainment out there, and they are so trendy, but some of them have quite serious content.
Yeah, I mean, we've already mentioned a series like The Witcher that has
True
like so much
that.
violence and sex in it.
Yes, Game of Thrones is another one, also super trendy, but quite hectic. I remember when 50 Shades of Grey also released, that was quite a season. Everyone was like, should I watch this? Shouldn't I watch this? Really good question.
Should I read the book?
Yo, don't.
Dang. But as a Christian, man, violence and sex seems so unavoidable. I mean,
That is true.
it is literally everywhere. So,
Unavoidable.
So what should I watch? Where should I go?
Yes, I mean, that's such a good question because I think as Christians, we most of the time either have like one of two responses when it comes to deciding what am I going to watch, what am I not allowed to watch. So you either just go free for all. I mean, it's fake anyway, fake sex, fake violence, fake blood. So you're just okay with watching or consuming pretty much anything because anything kind of goes, right?
Yeah. Oh. You can go in the complete opposite way.
That's true.
You can throw away your whole TV set. You can delete your Netflix account because it's all from the devil.
Don't do that. See, the problem with both those approaches is it kind of still leaves us in the dark, right? So what we want to do today is not give you an exhaustive list of all the movies that you are allowed to watch and all the movies that you are not allowed to watch. Because let's be honest, a list of do's and don'ts or, what am I allowed to do and what am I not allowed to do, those lists have never been helpful for anyone.
I mean, I remember back in the day with the story of the.
You remember back in the day?
I remember back in the day.
That's
I was
cool.
there. I was there with Moses and the guys, and
Pretty cool.
he gave them God gave us commandments to live by, a bunch of rules of do's and don'ts, and
Yeah, it's like 600 and something commands.
oh,
Hectic.
dude, that's a lot. I
That's a lot.
I can't even follow all the
And
traffic
it wasn't
rules.
helpful at all.
But it wasn't helpful. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't helpful at all because that's not how we live our lives. Now we get to engage with
true.
God through grace.
Yo, it's a whole new way of relating to Jesus. We don't relate to Jesus via law anymore.
No.
It's via a relationship.
It's
right?
via a relationship.
Yes.
And like any relationship, you figure out what works, what's helpful, and what's not helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's just a really important point because in any relationship, you would have discovered that certain things are helpful and certain things are not helpful. So you don't end up doing or not doing something because someone has told you you should or shouldn't. You end up doing things in relationships that builds up that relationship that's helpful. And that's what we want to do today. So we're going to run through 5 quick principles or just really 5 quick questions that you can actually ask yourself that'll help you kind of filter through some of the things that you need to decide. This is kind of a gray area. I'm not sure if this is okay for me to watch or listen to or binge or whatever. And these 5 questions are going to help you filter that.
Yeah. So like we said, it's not all that black and white. It's actually very much of a gray area.
And that can be annoying, but this is really going to be helpful.
This
for
is
you.
good. This is what's going to be helpful. And I want to kick it
Yes.
off with what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 12. He says, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful.
Yeah, another translation actually uses the word beneficial. So he's saying, even though we are technically allowed to do a whole lot of things, like there's no law in the Bible that says thou shalt not watch The Witcher.
Yeah.
Right?
'Cause
But
now-
he's actually saying that even though a lot of things are technically lawful, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily beneficial, which I think is a really good word to keep in mind as we talk through these things. So, principle number 1 or question question number one that you can ask yourself when deciding on these kinds of things is, does this movie I'm watching or series I'm binging or song I'm listening to, does this actually lead me to a greater sense of freedom, or does this lead me actually to a sense of bondage? I love that verse that you actually said, because it continues in 1 Corinthians 6 verse 12, and it ends that verse by saying, all things are lawful, but I will not be brought under the power of anything. And that's so good. I mean, Paul is literally saying, I am not going to be controlled or held in bondage by anything. I think that's good. It's actually talking a little bit about addiction.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I think the one good way we can practically see if you
This is good,
if you're addicted to anything is try stop that thing for 3 months maybe.
Just try stopping it for a while.
Yeah, for a while. And if you find that you can't go without scratching that itch.
You get that Netflix itch, right?
Like,
I need to know what happens next.
I need to hear the
Yo.
And
Exactly.
if that sound doesn't really, if you can't go a month without it, then maybe you have a bit of a problem.
Yes. So let's make this really practical real quick. Back to The Witcher, or back to just any movie or series or, music that you listen to. Do you find yourself constantly binging for like hours on end? Like time just kind of flies by and you have no idea what happened. Could be that thing is actually keeping you in bondage, right? You are kind of enslaved to that Netflix itch.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's really good.
Principle number 2, or question 2, that you can just ask yourself when filtering through these things is this movie or series or song or whatever you want to put in there, is this leading to growth? Like, is this helping me love Jesus more, or is this kind of distracting me away from Jesus?
Yo, and I think the perfect place we can find the answer to that question is once again Paul in 1 Corinthians.
Such a good writer,
Dude,
Paul.
did so much writing, man.
Yeah.
Like he journaled hard. But I think another question is, I'm assuming, is is that verse in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 23. It says, all things are lawful, but not all things edify or are beneficial to me. Not all things will better me or build me up. And I want to ask,
true.
like, in the things that we were watching and the things that we're consuming, are they building my relationship with Jesus?
Yes.
Or not? Or are they just breaking away?
And I think this question, if you ask yourself this question, this is actually where a whole bunch of stuff that we're consuming will kind of fall out the wagon, right?
Ooh.
Because again, let's be really practical. Back to the movies or back to the series that we watch, when I see people having sex on screen, when I see some really violent things or blood or gore or horror or whatever taking place right in front of me, you need to ask yourself, is like, is this making me love Jesus more, or is this kind of distracting me? And that can be a harsh question to ask, but again, this will help you filter through some of the things you're allowing into your life, right?
Yeah. But that's really, really cool. But here's another principle. Principle number 3.
Number 3.
Yes. And it's this principle that I think we'll all relate to within the first 5 minutes of any series or movie that we're watching. And it's this thing of conscience.
That's a good one.
How do I feel when I watch
Remember
it?
in Finding Nemo, when Marlin asks Dorian, he's like, this is your conscience. We haven't spoken in a while. How are you?
What would
It's
your
that
conscience be
moment.
saying? Yeah, what would your
Yeah.
conscience be saying if asked that question?
Yes.
What would you
and,
be saying?
Yeah, and this actually, it speaks about this whole question of, does what you're watching, what you're binging, what you're listening to, does it make you feel guilty at times? And I mean, we've all had this moment where you're chilling, it's Netflix, you're watching a movie, maybe with friends or even your family, and then there's that scene. And it's awkward.
And
like
everyone,
suddenly
like,
it's
looks to the
something,
wall and
suddenly it's awkward. The ceiling becomes really like interesting. The floor has never been more amazing than
Or you
at
just
that moment.
coincidentally have to go to the bathroom.
Yo, and that speaks about conscience. Like sometimes we inherently feel guilty about the things we watch.
Yeah. And I think it brings it out. Paul brings it up in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31. It says, therefore, whatever you eat, drink, or whatever it is you do it in the glory of the Lord. Do it
That's
to glorify God. And I think it brings that question. Like, what you're doing, what you're consuming, does it make you feel guilty?
Yeah.
Does it make you feel liberated?
Yeah. But another way of kind of phrasing this whole question of conscience or, feeling guilty when you watch something is, can you honestly, with a clear conscience, recommend the things that you are watching or listening to? Like, can I watch something and then with a clear conscience go, to me, you need to watch this? Or do you find yourself constantly kind of defending that movie or that series or, kind of recommending it, but then going, it has some intense scenes, but you should just just forward through this because the story, it's so great. Like the story is so cool. Like Game of Thrones, the story, it's so great. Just forward through all the rape scenes and the blood and the guts and the sex, but because the story is so good. If you find yourself kind of constantly recommending, but then trying to defend some of the things you see, it might be that you feel a little bit guilty about watching that thing.
But we have principle number 4 now.
Yes, number 4. Here we go.
Number 4. Here we go. Hope you're ready. And it's this principle of attitude.
Attitude. It's about your attitude.
Your attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude. Well, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
My life just changed.
Yeah, we can even close it right now.
Yeah. But seriously,
attitude.
Attitude.
And it's this thing of whatever you're watching, how does it affect the
Yes.
way you engage with the
That's
world
a good
around
one.
you in your
Yes.
relationships and everything?
Yeah.
How does it change that?
That is a really good question. Like, how is this, which I'm watching or whatever, how is this changing my attitude towards certain elements in my life? Like, let's make this real practical, real quick again. Guys and girls, if I am constantly watching movies or series that's all about the sex, and it's all about, people just doing whatever I want. Guys, does that kind of change or challenge or influence the way you view women?
Oh, definitely.
If you're constantly seeing women being objectified or abused on screen, that's going to mess with your head.
Yeah.
And even ladies, for us, like if I'm constantly seeing all these, ridiculously proportioned women on screen, and they are constantly big toes, and they are constantly being objectified or abused, that is going to influence the way I view myself, and it's going to influence the way we view things like sex and marriage. Or again, if you're constantly seeing just blood and guts everywhere, that's going to influence the way you look at life.
Yeah, it's going to numb you to other experiences of real life, people going through those gory experiences, like a car accident. I'll be like, whoa.
I mean, if you find yourself, in a situation like this where real news that, of bad things happening, people being murdered, or like just corruption, or just, awful things taking place in the world, and you're not moved by that at all, you're kind of numb to all of those things. Could it not be because you're just so used to seeing those things on the series that you watch, the movies that you check out, the songs you listen to? So just consider this question. How is this that I'm consuming affecting my attitude? Okay.
Last one.
The last melon.
So we're actually at the last one now.
Yes,
Should I
we've
start
made
again?
it.
No, I'm joking.
We've made it to
We've made
Mambo
it.
number 5.
Mambo number 5.
Here we go.
All right, and it's this question
Yes.
of your testimony.
Testimony.
Testify.
I want to read us.
Yeah.
Oh, but you actually want to finish your sentence.
Yeah, let me
first.
finish my
I'm just so
sentence
excited
first.
about
Stick
this.
to the script.
Sorry.
So the question is my life, including the movies, the series, the songs, the books, and everything that I consume, is it making it easier for people to follow Jesus, or is it making it harder for someone else to follow Jesus?
That is an excellent question. I want to read us a scripture. It's again in 1 Corinthians 10, and it's Paul actually writing, and he's saying, I do what is best for others so that many may be saved.
Sure.
This is such a wonderful scripture.
Yeah.
He's literally writing that every element in his life, he is literally conditioned that element. The way you dress, the way you act, the way you speak, the things you watch, the things you recommend to your friends and your Christian brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Is it making it easier for other people to actually follow Jesus, or is it making it harder for them?
I actually heard this one quote that says, you might be the only Bible someone reads.
That's good.
Yeah,
and I mean, this is
really-
not supposed to put any pressure on us, but if you constantly again find yourself rather speaking about the movies or series you watch, but you find it really hard to just, share your testimony or share what Jesus is busy doing in your life with others, it might be that you need to reconstruct some of the things in, how you do life, even the things you watch or listen to.
No, this is just a quick disclaimer. We're not just saying stop watching and listening and reading everything out there, and all you have to consume is like Christian. Because Christian movies.
Christian movies.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just, this is like a real honest, just 30 seconds. How lame are Christian movies?
So bad.
I know this is so bad because I love Jesus
bad.
so much, but 9 out of 10 Christian movies.
Dude.
And it's always the same guy.
It's always the same guy.
It's always, he has like a bald patch, He was like in Facing the Giants. It's always that guy. Here we go.
So it's the 14th of February. It's Valentine's Day.
Here
So
we
we're
go.
going to give you the 14 best Christian pickup lines. Here we go.
Girl, if I walked 7 times around you, Would you fall for me?
Is your name Faith? Because you're the substance of everything that I've hoped for.
I was reading through the book of Numbers and I realized I don't have yours.
I'm not usually prophetic, but I can see us together.
Did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
I think you're the kind of girl to make Paul think twice about single life.
You know that Paul taught us that we need to greet each other with a holy kiss. Do you want to show me what he meant by that?
Is your parents home? My parents are home. Wanna come over?
Hey, are your parents home? Oh, they are. Okay, never mind. Have a good evening.
Want to go somewhere and practice speaking in tongues? Here's my number. Call me if you need prayer.
I'm not a miracle worker. I only have enough fish and bread for 2.
Baby, you're just like water, except Jesus turned you into fire.
My name's Will. God's will for your life.
I put the stud back in Bible study.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. Okay, hier gaat hij.
Na 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 la.
Okay, hier gaat ons weer. Okay.